They wanna know what an American warrior is. Yeah. Anybody that served in the United States military honorably. Yeah.
Welcome, this is the American Warrior Radio Show. I'm Garen Cohn, an Air Force veteran, founder of AVET Project, and also an accredited claims agent before the VA, and your host. If you or someone you know has ever worn the uniform of the U.S. military, you're in the right place, American Warrior Radio Show. So grab a pen and paper and strap in, because we're about to launch this episode.
Yeah, American Warrior. Okay, let's get it in for the women and servicemen. I came prepared and brought my game like ESPN.
American Warrior Radio Show's bumper and intro music is graciously provided by none other than war hero himself, Stephen Hobbs. Thank you, Stephen. Set the tone, my brother.
By the way, I keep the fams buzzing. I ain't worried about the outcome, the message gon' be clear. You can hate it or love it, but your freedom is still here.
During this episode of American Warrior Radio Show, we are going to cover some basics about the VA. I want to tell you right now, anything and everything you ever want to know about potential benefits is in the VA website, va.gov, va.gov. The problem is trying to locate it. It's so much information, just like if you saw the United States Code under Title 10 for the active military or Title 38 for the veterans. They're massive books. There's so much information. So we're going to break it down here and keep it real simple. We're going to cover some of what they call their lines of business. Predominantly, there are three. Very simple. VHA, that's the Veterans Health Administration. Guess what that says? VBA, that's the Veterans Benefit Administration. And then there's the National Cemetery System. These are their three main lines of business. What you want to focus on is whatever you may be eligible for. And we're going to cover just the nuts and bolts, a quick overview of the benefits available to nearly all veterans. Keep in mind, just as we said in the opening, you're a veteran if you served honorably in the United States military. There are qualifiers, but generally you're going to know whether you have eligibility to VA benefits. So we're going to cover some of these lines of business. We're going to start with the one that's possibly most important, and that's the Health Administration, VHA. Do you know the VHA is expanding, not only with their brick and mortar facilities and the amounts of community-based outpatient clinics, CBOCs, to try and reach more rural populations of people. There's also some excellent, I would say, some of the best medical care provided through the VA medical centers, and every state has at least one, even the small states. So you want to get engaged. How do you do that? Okay, I'm a veteran, I've got good paper. Yeah, that means your DD-214 shows that you had honorable service. Ordinarily, in the VA, and again, this is a legal thing, you had to be an eligible veteran, you had to complete your full term of service, whether that was 2 years or 4 years. The idea is you completed what they asked you to do and you did it honorably. If you know that you got out after 4 years or 6 years, whatever your commitment was, and it says something along the lines of honorable, even a lot of folks that have administrative discharges, the VA is not obligated to accept whatever the DoD says about your service. They can do their own little investigation and determine if the preponderance of your service qualified you. So the VA can make their own independent decision about your quality of service, your character of discharge. So keep that in mind. Just because you look and you think, oh, I've got bad paper, not necessarily. Let the VA make that decision for you. Simple form. You take the 1010 Easy, you can go online. Everybody's online now. The VA is counting on this, and we'll touch on that a bit later. Take this 1010 Easy. It's a quick, easy form. Easy as in easy. And it accompanied with your DD-214, you go into your CBOC, some community outpatient clinic, or the medical center, whatever VHA facility is nearest you. They will have an enrollment advisor. Go in there, sit down with him or her, go over the specifics, and they will make a decision, probably not on site. They'll probably tell you we're going to inform you in 7 to 10 days, but let them get you enrolled into the VHA. the Veterans Health Administration. A lot of benefits there, but keep this in mind. When you go there, be patient. These guys and gals are, for the most part, doing their best to serve us veterans. They know it's their job. It's their only reason for being. They're getting a paycheck because they're reaching out to you and me and everyone else like us, honorably discharged veterans. You fill out the form, they tell you 7 to 10 days. They're going to send you an acceptance letter. It's also based on a couple different things. There's 8 different categories of veterans. If you are service-connected disabled, which again we'll talk about that's through the Veterans Benefit Administration. If they recognize that you have a disorder that started in service and is still bothering you today and you're service-connected, whether it's 0% or a compensable evaluation like 10% or greater, you got eligibility through the VA, through the healthcare system. Let them make that determination. They'll send you the letter. Along with that, they'll probably have you come back in so that they can assign you a primary caregiver, doctor. You'll have a nursing team and all that jazz. But you want to keep in mind that when you come back in there, they're going to take a picture and you're going to get a VA ID card. Guess what? Nowadays, that VA ID card opens up other doors. As you start walking this gauntlet of the VA, you're going to find that you probably didn't know anything to start, but as you go, even if you're just being pulled along, you're going to find eligibility to other benefits. Other doors will open. Super important that you keep your mind open. Don't be resistive of any situation. In other words, go there thinking they're here to help me, because that is their job. They're here to help us. When they make this decision, you get a photo ID. That may open you up to go and use the base commissary if there's a military facility near you. It could do a lot of different things that we'll touch on just briefly, but we're giving you just a quick overview. 1, VHA, Veterans Health Administration. If you've got honorable service, you got your DD-214, get in there and get registered. They were going to tell you whether you qualify as a Category 1, which is 100% service-connected disabled, or even down to Category 8, which simply means through a means test, checking your income against other factors, they may open that door. And that door swings a lot. As they have availability to take on more patients, Category 8 can be increased in the number and size. So just because, let's say next month they said, you fall outside of the Category 8, does not mean that the month following you might be eligible. All right, so keep an open mind. 1 through 8, they're going to tell you all that. They're going to give you the ID card. What I want you to understand, once you get in there, you're going to have a primary caregiver. They're going to, as I said, open these doors to you if you have a need, a specific need, even if it isn't related to service, or even if you haven't, which is what I'm going to talk about in a moment, gotten a service-connected rated disability. You could be in there just coming out of service, and for PGW vets, the door is already open. All right, I'm not going to go into the specifics because guess what? They're changing those even as we speak. Bottom line, if you are over there in the sandbox, you have automatic eligibility for VA healthcare. So keep that in mind. Get enrolled in the VHA. That's business line number 1. Next, this is a big one. Everybody talks about it, and the grapevine is crazy with information. Sometimes it's valid and truthful. Other times it's going to lead you, as my brother John said, down a rabbit hole. Avoid the rabbit holes. Come here to American Radio Show, where we're going to tell you the straight poop on everything all the time. VBA, Veterans Benefit Administration. This is a line of business that is specifically designed to give you and potentially your dependents various benefits that Congress has provided for based on your good service. Same thing. The difference is the VBA, just like the VHA, is going to take your information, and we'll go through the qualification or the application process just briefly because we're going to keep this just kind of hitting the high points. They're going to make a determination, just as I said the hospital would, regarding your service. So if you have a general discharge or an administrative discharge, whatever the circumstances may have been, don't disqualify yourself, all right? Let them make that decision because, again, they can make a decision completely independent of whatever the Department of Defense said. And as you can imagine, the United States code, Title 38, is this thick, people. There's a lot of information in there. And fortunately, there are people within the VBA and even VHA that do know all the specifics. And they're going to make sure that they extend every benefit they can to you. What you have to do is apply. All right? At AVET Appeals, which, I'm an accredited claims agent before the VA representing veterans or claimants, meaning they may not be a veteran, they could be a surviving spouse, a dependent child, what have you. I represent them once they have been denied. I'm very selective because I'm retired, believe it or not, but I'm still taking on cases when and where I can, cases that I know need to be won. Well, I don't do a lot of gratis work as we've done in the past. We ran AVET Project forever, it seems, and I helped a whole lot of vets just filing initial claims. There's so many organizations that can give you that assistance. Things such as County Veteran Service Office. And again, we're talking about your frontline people that are going to get you in front of them so that they can begin the application process. This is not something you can't do yourself. Of course you can do it yourself. What you want to do is get this form. It's called a 526, all right? 21-526 EZ. And just go through it. It is a lengthy form, but all the information you can find, you have the information that's talking about you. So fill the application out even before you visit a VSO, which is a Veteran Service Officer. One great place, and I do mean great place, is our website, avet-project.org. What will I find there? All kinds of things. In particular, regarding this material we're covering, DIY. Do it yourself. Go there. Go through the website. Not only are you going to get some great information on the historical data and outreach that AVET Project has had over the years, which is really cool. You'll see how involved we've been with all of our awesome volunteers. Again, all volunteer. Nobody gets a paycheck. So go to the DIY section and look at everything that Miss Kim has assembled there. This is tried and true. If you have any questions, the frequently asked questions are going to be addressed there. Now, I did mention the other avenues. Go do DIY. Go do the DIY at avet-project.org. See if you can fill that form out by yourself. You should be able to complete it. Once you've got it completed, you got to get it filed, right? The VA is doing a lot of different things in managing their paper workload. They want to digitize the entire process. Some good, some bad. There's different things called Quick Submit. There's the Janesville, Wisconsin Evidence Intake Center, different things like that that you'll see when you get paperwork from the VA. They're going to give you all this information here. You can address it here, here, here. Well, let's keep it simple. Fill out the 526. That's your application for compensation. Now, VBA does the benefits. What is this compensation Mr. Cohn's talking about? Well, I will tell you this. If, and this is real simple stuff, this is fundamental building blocks. You're in the military. You're on active duty or active duty for training for the reservists or guards, or you're an AGR person, whatever. If you get injured or potentially diagnosed with a systemic disorder, let's say you're doing 6 months over in the sandbox or in North Africa, wherever you might be, and all of a sudden the doc says, you're a diabetic. Guess what? Yes, it's bad you got diabetes. You can't help it. Whether it's familial, all kinds of different reasons you might develop diabetes, but it's a systemic disorder, meaning you couldn't control it. There was no outside force that caused it, but guess what? You have it. Well, by virtue of that, and you being on active duty or active duty for training, other circumstances may apply also, you have already the essence of a well-grounded claim. What do I mean? Something happened to you in service. It's bothering you today, and there's this nexus, three-pronged process. Happened in service, bothering you today, and that nexus, that bridge, that causal connection that brings the two of them together. Even if you were 40 or 50 years out of service, Vietnam vets, praise God, we've still got Korean vets and World War II vets with us that may have never filed a claim. Look, if they have service medical record evidence of a disorder that started while they were on active duty and it's still bothering them today, file a claim. You want to keep this in mind. Just as all of us went through the gauntlet at MEPS and we got our exams and, treated us like a pincushion with all the injections and all the vaccines, they did a thorough physical. They had to make sure you're qualified for service. That's called your intake physical. That's part of your record. And we can talk about NPRC probably in another episode. That's National Personnel Record Center, which everybody should have. See, I get tangential. You understand? I start talking about one thing and it opens window to another. Well, NPRC is the caretaker of all of our records. Your entry physical is in your SMR, Service Medical Record. Now it's referred to as Service Treatment Records, STR. It's there. That's your baseline. You came in service and they checked off everything was just fine. Or maybe you had a knee condition coming into service, but it wasn't so bad that it disqualified you from service. The examiner's going to make a little note. He had knee surgery when he was 16, or she had an elbow go bad when she was 18. What I want you to understand is that does not disqualify you for compensation. That can be, we'll go into the compensation particulars later because it's very involved. Just keep this in mind. When you're making that initial application for compensation because you got hurt or you got diagnosed with something that's systemic, in other words, it's a chronic condition, even sinusitis. If you're over in the sandbox, and again, there's PACT Act, there's all kinds of new environmental exposure laws that have come into play. Just keep it in mind. If you were okay when you went into the service, you served on active duty, you discharged honorably, and you still have those conditions, that knee still bothering you that happened when you jumped off a deuce and a half, whatever the situation. If something happened and it's still bothering you today, there's potential for you to be service-connected disabled. Guess what? That plays a part back into the VHA. If you have a rating, you've all heard it. What's a rating? Rating is the VA making a decision that you were service-connected for this disability. Well, that qualifies you on the VHA. And with the VBA, they're the ones that make that decision. They're going to order an exam and they're going to confirm what you have, see the severity of the condition, and then they're going to assign you evaluation, rating, percentage, however you want to term it. It's an evaluation. They're going to say, yeah, that elbow that girl got, that's 20% disabling, and so on and so forth. So that's VBA. In a nutshell. I know we just breezed over it. There's so much more. That's why we're here. We're going to discuss this. We're going to go in length and we're going to in depth. We're going to go at length with different guests and we're going to talk about specifics that I know you're going to want to tune into for future episodes. You have to. Next line of business, and this is at the end of the road. This is the VA National Cemetery System. I've got to tell you, I should say fortunately, unfortunately. Fortunately, I've been blessed to have dealt with a lot of folks from the National Cemetery System, from Point Loma to out here, that's Fort Rosencrantz, out here at Scottsmore at the beautiful Cape Canaveral National Cemetery. They are wonderful people. They really are. Just when you have a loved one that passes away and you're dealing with the funeral home, I would hope that most of them are just top-notch people. My wife and I just had a dear friend's father pass away. God bless him. World War II hero. He was a bomber pilot. Never filed a claim for the VA. I know he had eligibility, but he never filed. Nevertheless, he had eligible service for National Cemetery burial, and they did a spectacular job. And his wife preceded him. Guess where they're at? They're both together after they pass. And that's pretty cool. That's something special. The National Cemetery System, I can't say enough good things about it. Quite honestly, I haven't had a bad experience with them. So when that day comes, or one of your loved ones that is served prior to you, or maybe you're just a cousin or a grandson or a sister of a veteran that has just passed, there's potential benefits there. The burial allowance alone could help offset some of the costs for you. So you want to make application there too. va.gov, that is a sea, it's an ocean of information. It's so much information you can't even begin to scratch the surface. I just spoke at length about AVETproject.org. That's AVET, Alpha Victor Echo Tango -project.org. It's an acronym and it stands for American Veterans Empowerment Team. We are here to empower you to help yourselves. One of the great ways you can do that is to go to AVET-project.org and look at the DIY information. Do it yourself. anything and everything is pretty much covered there, even filing your initial claim. So it's great information. Definitely go there. And I want to stress that in this day and age, we are losing 22 veterans a day. 22 veterans a day. Do you know if that was the case with firemen or policemen or hospital people, if that was the case, countrywide, that would be a huge issue. It would be all over the news. But here we are, veterans losing one another. 22 a day are giving up. They say they have no hope. Guess what? There is always hope. Whether you're a believer like I am or not, you have to believe in something, and you got to believe in tomorrow. And as my good friend and co-host on the old American Warrior Radio show used to say, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Share that with somebody that you know is struggling, is even contemplating this, what they call suicidal ideation. Maybe they haven't developed a plan to follow through, but they're thinking about it. If they are, get that in their head. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I have to share with you, the first person that emails us after watching this episode is going to get an AVET Project gift pack. Can't tell you what it is, but it'll be good stuff. One of them is always going to be our bookmark, because we all need to read. We got to educate ourselves. And what do I see here? It says, we can't do this alone. We thank everybody to help us do more. All right? Well, guess what you can do? You can help us right now with these awesome t-shirts, if I can get it flipped around here right. Okay? These are for 20 bucks. We're going to give you this shirt. It's the awesome dry wick. They're super soft. There's some of our sponsors. All right, help us help them. Send an email to us, first person, going to get an AVET Project prize pack. Please donate. Help us help the troops, okay? And as always, don't forget, thank a vet.